Now, I'm going to show you something. Everything I would share with you here is pure facts. And this. It's called a blunt. Most people call it herbs. Most people call it, they're different flavors anyway. And when I started making videos on a blunt, the first time I uploaded a video on a blunt was early this year because I don't get to smoke. I'm somebody who stays away from smoke. In fact, the last time I smoked was 2017, and I had lots of skepticisms around smoking, especially smoking a blunt. One of the reasons why I've seen lots of people who smoke, and it's they're not people whom I would want to be like or be with. People who are usually very frustrated. They have a whole different, beautiful, pathetic life I would not want to wish myself for. So I linked smoking to those kind of people mentally. And then the society tells you when you smoke, they give you some kind of perception of who smokers are. And I think this is why I never really tried it, not until this year. And after trying it this year, I can really tell it was one of the best things that never happened to me. So I'm going to explain what it does, first of all, and why most people who are really struggling use it. First of all, it's an antidepressant. It simply means if you're depressed, this is something that could help get you to a better position. I got to start taking blunt early this year because ending of last year it was a roller coaster, different emotional crisis. You know, I even had to go on a book leave to try to read to work on my emotion. I wasn't at the place. I wasn't happy. I wasn't feeling fulfilled in any way, but had achieved a whole lot, right? So I hit a blunt and I was trying to, man, I drink all the time. I drink a whole lot, but I wanted to see what it's going to be like after the last time I smoked was when I was in school 2017. And so I took a blunt and I had it smoked for a while. Then within a few minutes, I discovered I couldn't really get upset. Like I was not looking for the things that really got me up. I was not trying to remember, okay, before now I wasn't happy and I knew a couple of things were, getting me upset. So there I was trying to look for exactly what was getting me upset and I couldn't really find it anymore. And then after a while, I smoked up a bit and I just told myself, I said, I want to have this meeting with myself because I was tired of being in a pathetic position where I just sat and I'm not somebody who talks, and so I can't really talk to people. I can't tell people anything I'm going through. And instead of having this one-on-one conversation with myself, it seems like each time I smoke that stuff, it brings out, an inside version of me. Now, this inside version of me is able to counsel me because I know right from when I was little, I would always sit down on my own. I would talk to myself. So I soliloquize a lot, and I have this inside of I communicate with it inside of me. But when I started socializing with people, I stopped sitting down. Like back then, I would always spend time alone. But I mean, not being a social person, I would always have places to go, have friends. So I stopped talking to myself. I stopped sitting down to soliloquize. I stopped getting to like have a personal one-on-one meetings with me. And when I smoked it up a bit, I now discovered that inside of me, that the voice has been very low, became very, more outspoken. And I started making some memory lane, started going back to time, seeing most of the things I did that were not right. And for the first time in a very long time, I was able to really tell myself, you did wrong in certain places. Now, when you hit a blunt like this, it clears your head, first of all. It does something to the emotion because it has lots of dopamine. If you don't know what dopamine is, you can browse it out. It helps, get you excited, stimulate you. Now, I don't know for other people, like I would always tell people, alcohol reacts differently to most people. Like me, for instance, whenever I take champagne, whenever I take alcohol, which is drink, I get emotional. It's something I never wanted to tell you. I mean, I could say it and I would not say, I shouldn't have said this. And so, alcohol makes me more outspoken, more social, life in the party. But whenever I take this, it's a whole different, vibe. It first of all brings out that inner me. In fact, why I got scared of taking it years ago is whenever I take it, I would find myself talking to myself. I had this whiteboard. You guys see my whiteboard, right? If you follow me, I create softwares. If you follow up my update often, you see a whiteboard by my side. I always have a whiteboard where I take a marker and I write out stuff. I don't have it here because I now use my iPad. But back in those days, I used to have this whiteboard that I'll be writing things on. So when I was smoking it then in school, I'll be writing so many things I want to achieve. I'll be, working alone. I could be inside alone all day. But I mean, then people were always having bad impressions about me. So let's say then I cared about what people said, and then I just stopped smoking it. It's not like I wasn't delivering well. So yes, it had very good effect on me. It makes me isolated, makes me talk to myself, it makes me want to improve myself, it makes me want to stay on my own. If I smoke, I don't talk to people, I'm alone. Now, that is the good effect it has on me. Now, however, just like every single drug, it doesn't work well for everybody. And a drug that will be working perfectly fine that could treat a particular sickness on someone, that same drug might have adverse effect on someone else. Well, now, why does this blunt have a bad, what's it called again? Why does it have a bad stereotype? So the first thing I learned is because blunt, first of all, takes out your whole anger, right? So people who are taking it are usually people who, let's say for instance, somebody is it's an entity. He doesn't want to think about his life. He doesn't want to work. He doesn't want to be useful. And all of a sudden, he's taking this thing. Now, if you like, advise him, cause him. In fact, if at that point in time he was having a mental breakdown, now everyone is telling him it's not useful and he wants to be useful. The moment he smokes this thing, he's happy. He might not even think of anything anymore. He will just get relaxed. People who take it, people who take a blunt, they're just laughing. They're okay, man. I mean, they're in a whole different dimension. And yes, it works that way. But I think somewhere in the line, I trained myself back then to, like, while I was growing up, to have this mental meditation. So this is what I want to teach you today. Whenever you get a blunt like this, now first of all, get a good organic herb. Talking about getting a blunt, I've never really mentioned a particular species because I know there are lots of species who have pure herbs, which is like pure. I wouldn't want to be calling the name because some countries get this stuff banned. So I wouldn't want my videos to be flagged as promoting drugs or something because people have their own perception. Like I said, some people perceive these things differently. So I best don't mention the name. But when you give me a DM, I'll tell you what strand I'm taking and how it could really, really be of positive impact to you. Right. So for people who take it, like I said, they're usually people who are very frustrated, so they take it to calm themselves down. But I think it brings out the creativity. Like there is really a young man that I see take this stuff that doesn't have something doing. The thing is, most people who take it to do things illegitimate, because then it nulls their emotion, takes out all the conscience, all the anger, all the emotion, and it gets you very, very focused. They're able to now see things from a different dimension. Let's say they're doing on something, normally they would have replied this way, but it makes them more professional, it makes them more focused. Yes, that is one of the biggest benefits. But the adverse effects, if you take it more than you should, it could really, really it could actually give you a whole lot of issues. And if your brain is not strong enough, I hear it gets people crazy. I've not really verified that, but I know there's a possibility that yes, it could actually get someone crazy. But I think that possibility would only come in when the person takes those synthetic spiced up brands. 'Cause I know of some synthetic brand. I think there is this very, very popular one. It's called Colorado. Run away from it. Another one called Black Mamba. Run away from it. Those stuff have been released with very high synthetic stimulants. I mean, things that will just land on your head and they will fry your brain. So avoid them. When you see people who take these ones, you see them shivering, they're convulsing, they want to die. Yeah, those are the ones who call drugs abuse. Herbs cannot really be quoted with drugs. I think why herbs is having a bad name is because of those people who try to spice up herbs, mix it up, call it Colorado, mix it up, call it Black Mamba, mix it up, call it Canadian Loud. If you take pure herbs, you would see that creativity. It brings the best out of you. It gives you this one-on-one where your inside gets to converse with you. I'm not marketing it, obviously. I don't sell all this shit. I'm just telling you what it has done for me. Since 2017, I stopped smoking stuff like this when I was in school. To be honest with you, I used to be a dead heart obsessed coder. I would stay in the house all day and I'll be creating different softwares and I'll be hitting a blunt and I don't even care about anything. Like I don't know who no. I don't know you do your own just on my computer. And I read lots of programming textbooks. I did well in programming. I think my failure in my life started with when I started following people to talk. So right now you must have been noticing when you see me do a video, you no longer hear anybody talking. Get isolated, take a blunt, focus on what you should focus on. Once you start taking a blunt and you're meeting people, then you start misbehaving. Because when you take a blunt, you're able to take things, you're able to act on things, you're able to understand things differently, you're able to really absorb things. There's something it does. It's more like it opens the system. When some people say, "Oh, my system is not open, I can easily contract a disease." Yes, but these herbs opens your brain. So anything you capture at that particular point in time really affects you. I know lots of people who smoke whenever they have exams. I did that as well. Whenever I have exams, I smoke up. They be in a different dimension, but the book is sweet. They be like, the book be like novel, and as soon they get flying colors. Now, whenever I am normal, which is sober, I get distracted. I could be reading. I want to check my phone. Did somebody like my picture on Facebook? All that. So a blunt gives you that focus you need. And so I could light up a blunt here, but I don't think it's necessary. Yeah, I think it's good. I'm gonna cut that side out if it ever gets flagged.